Welcome to SuiteScript 101, and we're going to start off with your very first script. So you need to get a text editor of some sort. I use WebStorm, and I've created a blank JavaScript file. And inside, I'm going to put in first some NetSuite content, which is pretty much standard. The API version is 2.1. You can make that 2.0 if you wish, or 2.x. Whatever you wish. And then the script type is user event. We're going to just focus on user events right now, meaning something that happens with the user. All right, let's get started. The first thing we need to do is we need to define what API module we're going to call from NetSuite. And what that means is, what are we going to do? What is it that we're calling in NetSuite? So we're going to call a record, right? That's just we're going to work with an invoice. We're going to modify an invoice, update the memo field. So we're going to work with the record. So we're going to define the record module with the n/record. Then what next? And notice how I encapsulated this with brackets and parentheses. Just keep that for now. We're going to move that the right parenthesis a little later. All right, so let's create our first function. So we can call it record if we wanted, or we could make it R. It refers back to the definition, the n record. So R is fine to use shorthand. And this is going to be our main body function, the main one. And it's going to tell NetSuite how to interpret and run. But within this now, we're going to actually create another function, which is going to have some specific things to do. And in this case, we're going to have it update a memo field. So we'll call it that. Let's just call it function update memo field. And we're going to make this context only because there's lots of things we could put in here, but for now we're going to just leave context because we just wanted to work on what it sees, basically an invoice in the window. So, all right. Now, we want to set a value. We want to set the memo field to some random text. So again, we're just making a quick, simple script. So, we create first a variable, which is going to work with the record. So we call it inv record or invoice record, whatever you wish. And we're going to make that equal context.new record. So this is going to inform NetSuite that we're going to work on the record that's on hand, like the invoice, for example. Now that we've identified this, the next thing we want to do is we want it to do something, like let's update the memo field. So we're going to go inv invoice record dot set value, because that's where we want to set a value. And the field ID here is going to be, so catch up a little bit, is going to be memo. And so we type in field ID. Notice where, like for example, set value has a capital V, and field ID is going to have a capital I. So make sure you're careful when you're writing these out to follow those. All right, memo is surrounded by quotes, and then we put a comma, and then a value, what we want to stick in here. And so the value is going to be my first SuiteScript, whatever you wish, but my first SuiteScript. All right, and then we close that off with ending bracket, ending parentheses, and semicolon. All right, now we could pretty much just, that's all, but we're going to put in a log debug. And log debug is a very useful tool to make sure that your script's running, see if there's any problems, make sure it's returning values, etc. So I'm just going to put one in here called log.debug. And here we're going to then put in a title, which is going to just be, what do we want to call this log? So but for now, it's just did it update ? So that's what we're going to call it in the title. And then for the details, we're going to put in, yes, it did. Now, we could put in variables if we wanted to. You can log debug a lot of things. That's why it's a very useful tool. See, make sure, like if you're getting a value from a field, you want to see what that value is, because it could be like a true false, right? Because is it true, TRUE, or T, or 1 or 0? Using this would then tell you what that value is. So really handy tool. Note that NetSuite's actually very forgiving. Here I put in quotes around details. This actually would work, leaving it as is. However, using a thing like WebStorm allows you to identify mistakes like this. And so you can see, oops, I put some quotes around it, shouldn't have. You can come back and then you can turn in. And that's anyway, that's one of the nice benefits of WebStorm. All right, and that should do it. So we close this function off with the ending bracket, and we've got our function there to do something. We could, and we'll do this at a later time, but you want to make you really want to start getting into practice of using try and catch. And it's a great way to find errors in your code. We're not going to do it just now, but let's put a little note here about it, because you really want to get into good practice with that. I tell you what, it saves you from trying to figure out just all types of trouble that could happen. So it's a really good way, but we'll come back and do that later. All right, so now we're done, and we want to hit return. Okay, so we're going to return, but there's this little catch here. We're going to go return, and then we're going to put in a bracket, because we want to tell NetSuite that we want to do this, we want to run this function before the record is submitted, so before it's saved. So we put in before submit, and then we tell which function to run, update memo field, for example. And when we type that in, and then we finish off this return with a closing bracket and semicolon. And that then allows us then to completely finish the top function, which you see in this next bracket coming down below. And next we want to close off the define. Now, I mentioned that I put the bracket up and the right parentheses up on the top. We want to actually put it down here because this define calls this whole script. So I wanted to just kind of wait to show you this at the end. I thought it might be a good idea. But anyway, put your end parentheses down there and then go up. So remove that one. So when you're actually writing this, don't do that mistake. We're done on this mistake. Don't do that, what I just did. And then put in a semicolon, and there you go. It's your first working script. So pretty easy. We're gonna put this. We're gonna now upload this into File Cabinet. Now, File Cabinet has, by default, a folder called SuiteScript. So underneath SuiteScript, you should put your own work. Call it something like My SuiteScripts or whatever you wish. So we're going to now go to NetSuite, and after we save, we'll go to NetSuite, and now we're going to go to File Cabinet, and there you see SuiteScripts, and then down below I put in My SuiteScripts. So I whited out some of the other things, but they're there. And so when you look at this, okay, so My SuiteScripts, you want to click into it, and then once you're there, okay, hit Add File. This will then take you to your File Explorer, pick your new JavaScript that you just did, JS, and hit Open, and you can see that it will load now into NetSuite. Okay, that's the one hard part done. So now what we want to do is we want to create this script in NetSuite so we can do something. So we go to Customization, Scripting, Scripts, New. At this point, we're going to create this new script record. So we're going to go and, sorry, I had to type out your name, testing out SuiteScript.js, and then create script record. When you do, you get this form, so you fill out some of these details as you wish. The ID is really important. So underscore, make it something that you know is good. And we're going to come back and we're going to copy and paste that ID in just a second. Now below, you see that we've got NetSuite realizes a 2.1. Here, we don't really need to worry about this. It's unhandled errors. If you want to get emails for errors, leave it checked. I don't. So then finally here is where we're going to add in. So we're going to put in invoice because this is where we want it to be credit memo, sales order, whatever. Here's the key. Copy and paste that ID into this field. This will save you about 2 hours of research. Leave that checked. Leave it in testing mode because that way it'll only run when you're logged in and you're testing. You can release it if you wish, but if you're working on things, keep it in testing mode. And then the log is going to be debug. Okay, there you go. So now you save it. Here it looks like it's all ready to roll. So If you go to execution log, and you'll see there's nothing because we haven't saved our records yet. So we'll open up a new invoice, and I already did pre-populated this one. Just put in like customer and the detail. And notice that there's nothing in the memo field. So we'll hit save, and once we do, give it a second, and boom, memo. My first SuiteScript is there. Okay, great. So looking good. We can populate a field. It's a main body field. So now let's go down and do our execution log in our SuiteScript and hit refresh, and then we'll see there's our log. So there's the title, there's the date, and I'm going to get another shot here to go to the right so you can see the details. But basically, just going to put in the message that I had. So and here we go. Long version. There it is. All right, now you can see the whole log. So hope this was helpful. Hope you enjoyed. Good luck. Happy SuiteScripting.